interesting stuff coming out of the Chicago Blackhawks organization. So, earlier in the week, we talked about the Brandon Saad trade, the third one actually, wherein Stan Bowman, GM of the Blackhawks, essentially just swapped Saad for Zadorov. There were some AHL defenders thrown in there as well, but they kind of balance out the deal. So essentially what you were getting in terms of the main bread and butter of this trade was Saad for Zadorov. And if you're paying attention to how this trade actually went down and the trade history before that, this was indeed the third Saad trade that we have seen from the Chicago Blackhawks. The first one, it was Saad over to Columbus in exchange for Marco Dano. There was Anisimov in there. There were a lot of things in there thrown in the trade. And then the second one, it was Panarin back for Saad. And then the third one, it was Saad for Zadorov. So if you're paying attention to the most previous two, you essentially traded Artemi Panarin for Zadorov. You turned Artemi Panarin into Brandon Saad, which you turned into Zadorov, who is noted by many people as not as good of a hockey player as Artemi Panarin. Sorry, Zadorov, you're just not Panarin. A lot of people are not Panarin, so it's okay. But essentially, that's what the Chicago Blackhawks did. And according to the fan base, this was a pretty bad trade. Lots of Blackhawks fans kind of harped on this one. Oh my goodness, what are we doing? There wasn't even a draft pick. There wasn't even a prospect involved that balanced this one out. It was just Zadorov for Saad with two similarly valued AHL defenders on the trade too. Everybody was frustrated, nobody liked it, okay. But according to sources, it's not even just the Hawks fan base that was upset with this move. Apparently it's the actual Hawks players, the core players at least, themselves. Let's take a look at this article over here. It's Mark Lazerus on The Athletic. Let's read the tweet he uses to promote the article. It says this: here's an exclusive interview. Jonathan Toews on getting blindsided by the Blackhawks' sudden shift into a full-blown rebuild, and what it could mean for the core four going forward. Plus, more on the growing disconnect between the players and the management. This is a great article. I'll leave it down in the description below, so if you have The Athletic, go ahead and read that. But because The Athletic is paid for material, we're not going to talk about that article here on this video. Instead, we're going over to The Score, because The Score published their own version of this article talking about the contents that are discussed in Lazarus's piece. It cites Lazarus's article, and it goes over some of the same points. Because this one is public and because it has the quotes that are pretty much the bread and butter of this whole argument, it indeed is what we're going to go off of here. This is what one source says about the core four, Toews, Kane, Keith, and Seabrook, when it comes to the Blackhawks' early offseason moves. They're pissed. The core guys have had enough. Jonathan Toews also told Mark Lazerus that the moves that the Blackhawks are making in the offseason don't align with his own desire to win. The bottom line is, I want to win. The expectation for the other leaders on this team and myself is to come ready to training camp every year to be a playoff team. So Captain Serious himself is going out there and saying this trade, the Saad for Zadorov trade, does not align with what we want as the core members of this organization to go out there and win games. Oh boy. Imagine being Nikita Zadorov and you're on a new team and all of a sudden you see this article from The Athletic talking about what your captain says, your new captain, about how the best players on your new team feel about the trade wherein you were the main piece coming back. Oh boy, that must be interesting. Of course, though, we're not just referring to the Brandon Saad Zadorov trade. We're also talking about the Olli Maatta deal, wherein Maatta was sent over to LA in exchange for a minor prospect, which was indeed something else that we spoke about on this YouTube channel, so check that out. But that trade kind of had a little bit of a similar flavor to this idea that Toews is talking about. It was a rebuilding move. You're getting rid of Olli Maatta, who is a guy who takes up some cap space, and you're getting a nice young prospect in return. Now, granted, the prospect, Brad Morrison, isn't really somebody who a lot of people would say has a high likelihood of making the NHL. This was just a move for the purpose of clearing out Maatta's cap hit. But the same philosophy applies. You're trying to open up space, and you're doing that with the intention of rebuilding. The same can be said about the Zadorov-Saad trade. Saad was another cap move that the Blackhawks wanted to do in order to free up some more cap space, and they got Zadorov in return. Take a look at some more quotes over here. I have never been told we're going through a rebuild. That has never been communicated to me for that matter. A lot of this comes as a shock because it's a completely different direction than we expected. This article over here on The Score also then goes over how Corey Crawford is gone, Saad is gone, and the qualifying offers that were supposed to be sent over to Slater, Koekkoek, and Drake Caggiula, yeah, those didn't happen. So the Chicago Blackhawks are getting weaker, and the team that they have today, in comparison with the team they had against the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round of the playoffs, it's worse. It's straight up just worse. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter who were not Blackhawks fans coming out here and saying things like, okay, well, Jonathan Toews, okay, you could say what you want about wanting to win. That's okay. But do you really think that your team that made it to the playoffs last year would have had an opportunity of winning another cup, as you say, again in the next few years? Sure, Kane's great. One of the best players in the league, one of the best playmakers, stick handlers, puck passers, all that stuff. He's great. Keith, pretty good too. You, yourself, awesome. But what exactly is there that makes you think that this team can actually win a cup in the next few years? I saw a ton of people coming out with that argument because the Blackhawks, may I remind you, they were the worst team in the Western Conference to make the return to play format. They only made the playoffs in the first place because Corey Crawford stoned Edmonton, and you need more than Connor McDavid to score points and get wins. But this doesn't really seem like a team to me that even before the Saad trade and the Maatta trade was a team that I thought would have been a cup contender. They're in a different timeline now, Jonathan Toews, and that's kind of what I've been seeing a lot of people talking about, and it's kind of the sentiment that I kind of share towards this idea as well. Take a look at these quotes again. They want to win a cup. They prepare themselves to win a cup for their fans, and they've already won 3 in the past decade. You want more? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this is terrible for the Chicago Blackhawks, man. After 3 cups in the span of, 5 years? Something like that? They're in a position where they're not going to be able to get any more. Oh my goodness, how crazy is that? Now, I get that, of course, as the leader of the Chicago Blackhawks, you want to be in a position to instill winning confidence in your team. But as a guy who is a hockey fan, taking a look at this from the outside, the Chicago Blackhawks were the 23rd team out of 24 to make the return to play. You think that team, even before the Saad and Maatta trades, do you think that team was going to be able to squeak their way into a wild card? I don't want to say that DeBrincat and Strome, if you re-sign him, and Kubalik and Kirby Dach and all these guys, I don't want to say that they're not good enough to carry this team into a postseason run. But would I say it's likely? Probably not this early into their careers, if I'm going to be honest. We've noted this for a few weeks now, but the Blackhawks are in a position where they were gearing up towards a rebuild. Not even just a rebuild, but maybe even a rebuild on the fly. Just taking a look at who you have on your team that's immovable, guys like Toews, Kane, the core 4, as you would say, and building the rest of your team around that in a youthful way that ultimately formulates a package that can still remain competitive once Keith, Seabrook, all these guys are gone. What we're seeing now, though, from Stan Bowman is an ultimate desire to get younger, an ultimate desire to free up cap space and to just kind of start over from scratch, pretty much. That's kind of what they're doing over here, too. No more Caggiula, no more Slater, Koekkoek. They re-signed Kubalik, which was good, I'll give them that. But a lot of these moves were to free up cap space and just chug along as a hockey team going forward with no real opportunity established at becoming a winner. Now, it's okay for a GM to do that. It is just kind of weird, though, that the captain of the team was not informed that that was the plan. So from the perspective of the core guys being ticked off about the sudden directional shift that they were not made aware of, okay, I get it. It's just, I do kind of have a problem with the idea that Toews is going off of saying, yeah, you know, we wanted to win a cup this year. We want to win a cup every year. That was our goal. It's always been our goal to keep on winning cups year after year because we know we can do it. Because as a hockey fan, you know, I don't think it's possible, and I get that he's probably not supposed to be able to say anything else. It's just a weird idea caught in an interview with Mark Lazerus that was thrown out into the media that the core guys on the Blackhawks are indeed just pissed off with the direction of this team. So talk to me in the comments what you think about the Blackhawks and their overall situation, and talk to me about your own opinions on the Blackhawks core 4's feelings, because obviously those do play a part into how this organization is going to play on the ice next season, but I want to hear your opinions. Talk to me in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video of the Troll 99, and Bye.